All right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. All right, before I begin, just a couple quick announcements. Again, if you are interested in signing up for a 2024 yearly forecast reading, I am doing those from now, roughly until the first week in February, give or take. Again, roughly give or take, if you want to sign up for that 2024 yearly forecast reading, which is just what it entails. It's a forecast and outlook for your 2024 year to see what the demons and the spirits have in store for you. You know, to utilize that information so you have a successful and prosperous 2024. And again, as I've been mentioning in the last several videos, it is booked pretty heavy with those right now, more so than previous years. So the earliest I have now is after Christmas, sometime to early to the midpoint of next week. So please understand that with everything that's going on. So if you're interested in booking a 2024 yearly forecast reading, or if you're interested in booking any other type of reading that I do offer, a Klapothic demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian oracle reading, a deity reading to see what spirits walk with you, a shadow work reading, which is, again, something always a good thing to do to see what's going on with the shadow and the hidden self. Any of the aforementioned, go ahead and shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and I will get you information on how to book a reading or a spiritual consultation, either or. All right. Also, if you're interested in signing up for classes, the way to sign up for the classes that I do 3 private classes every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. All right. And also, we do a group ritual together at the end of every month. When you do join the Patreon page, you go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to all of the classes. Again, not just the classes. You don't just get access from the day you join moving forward. You also get access to everything in the archives, which is over 3 years worth of classes, continual ongoing classes. We have classes, just about everything you can think about: Klapothic sorcery, Luciferian magic and self-mastery, ancient Egyptian vampiric class, Sith dark side alchemy and philosophy class, esoterical occult Bible study class, shadow work class, Norse left-hand path mythology and runes class. I know I'm missing some others. Kundalini meditation and awakening class, necromancy and dark witchcraft class. I'm just trying to recollect the ones. I mean, there's a lot. And I'm constantly adding new content. All of these classes are continual and ongoing. To see the full list of classes that I do offer, all you got to do is go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That gives you access to all the classes. I do have mentorship programs on there. I have the Red Magus mentorship tier, which is, I believe, is tier 5. That's if you are interested in really going to the next level, where you work with me one-on-one once a month. We get together. I have a certain curriculum I've derived that is very effective, that works. That's for the sincere devotee, the sincere seeker and learner that really wants to take their path of self-mastery to that next level. That's why I say, if you join one of the mentorship tiers, please only do that if you have the time, the energy, and the commitment to that. I don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want you to waste my time. All right. Also, check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, which can be found on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. Check us out on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, one word. Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook, where I also upload all the new YouTube content. On the Facebook and Instagram, you can keep abreast of all the latest happenings of classes and things that I'm doing. That's the best way. Also in the community section here in the YouTube page. All right, that's the way to pretty much stay abreast of everything that's going on. Also, mark your calendars. Next Friday, December 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing the 2023 end of the year 2024 prophecy class, right? I'll be recapping 2023, giving you some messages from the spirits, the gods, and the goddesses of what's in store for our 2024, right? What we can expect, what we need to prepare for, things we need to be focused on. I will also be doing on-the-spot quick readings for people in the room. If you want to be a part of that, if you're on Patreon, you already have access to that class. You already have the link. Tier 3 and above. Actually, Tier 2, all access. Actually, if you're on Patreon, period. If you're not on Patreon, sign up. That's the best way to get access. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, where you can sign up individually. The instructions on how to do that is on the Instagram and the Facebook page and in the community section here on the YouTube page. All right. Mental note, next year, October 2024, 7th annual Journey of the Black Adam Conference. More to come on that as we get later in the next year. All right. You see the title of the video. Sometimes when I get the chance, I try to address emails, questions that I get on the email. So we're going to talk a little bit and focus on the Agathodaemon and the Egyptian Heka, or the Egyptian mysteries of Egyptian Heka, right? In that line, in that title. So this comes up because those who study, and maybe you come across books on dealing with the occult and the left-hand path of dealing with these ancient Egyptian mysteries. You have a lot of good books and resources out there. Mark Morgan, I like a lot of his work on some of the Egyptian mysteries and working with Heka and the Egyptian deities. Obviously a very great work that's very in alignment with what we do is the works of Charles Pace, who was a high priest of Set, right? Claimed to be an initiated priest of Set and the Sethian mysteries. A few years ago, Michael W. Ford reprinted his works in a book called The Necrominion, not the Necronomicon, right? So I'll be clear on that. The Necrominion, right? You can find a lot of that work in there. I refer to that. Also, the Draconian Egyptian Grimoire by the Temple of the Ascendant Flame. These are the workings with Egypt that's more in alignment with what we do, because it deals with the hidden mysteries of Egypt that nobody really addresses for whatever reason. Well, I got my theories, but point being, for an example, I'll refer to the Necrominion book. There's a whole section in there on the Agathodaemon, right? And if you've read the book, Egyptian Heka is basically high forms of Luciferian magic and spirituality. Especially if you read the introduction of the book, there's a lot of historical data in there. There's a lot of symbolisms and information. If you are, and I am, the Egyptian mysteries and working with Egyptian magic has always been a passion and a love of mine. Even, quote unquote, before I was be on this on this path, or laid claim to being on this path, I was always linked in to those ancient Egyptian mysteries. But in that book, the Agathodaemon and Luciferian philosophy, which is clear as it tells you that in the book, is the focus of the work in that book in its entirety. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, as we know, Luciferian philosophy, one of the key components is self-mastery, or apotheosis, self-deification, right? Placing yourself in the scheme of things as, quote-unquote, the ruler, controller of your, spiritual sovereignty, becoming, quote-unquote, your own God. Now, again, as I said, people have a problem that are not on the occult and the left-hand path when they hear that terminology, and I always have to address it because I want to be clear when I'm making a statement. You understand the perspective that I'm coming from. So when I say to become a god or a goddess, First and foremost, get out of your head that mythological, spooky, monotheistic shit that we've been so indoctrinated and corrupted with. There are many gods in many different pantheons, including the Bible, including the mainstream monotheist who believes, foolishly, because they don't know how to read their Bible, that there is only one God. That's foolishness. And again, this is not the video to get into that. I've addressed that many times. I can prove to you there's multiple gods in the Bible that this monotheistic God is wrestling with for power as the highest God, right? But again, that's for another time. When we say that we are striving to become a god or a goddess, right? As I said before, the question is God and goddess of what? So when you eliminate that monotheistic definition, excuse me, of the perspective it's coming from, okay, we're making it clear to be a god or a goddess. It's a symbolic term, and I'm speaking from the perspective I'm coming from. Other people that use it may be coming from a different terminology. I'm only speaking from, I'm utilizing it from this perspective. I need to be clear on that. A god or a goddess is an individual that has taken rulership of their spiritual path, their life as a whole. They've taken on the mentality, one, of being accountable on all levels, right? They take responsibility and accountability for their successes and their failures. They've completely eliminated and destroyed or don't deal with any systems of conformity anymore. Systems of belief, faith, and worship, and things of that nature. They've taken on that mindset to become a god or a goddess, ruler of their spiritual destiny. Okay? With all of those aforementioned things included, that's the perspective I'm coming from, not some fictitious god or definition that's in alignment with any of those things, right? So I have to be clear on that. In order to obtain that mindset and become and manifest that reality, you must awaken what they call in Egyptian Heka, the Agathodaemon, which is very similar and the same to what we call the personal daemon. I've mentioned this in the past. Your higher self, the holy guardian angel you might hear in Thelema, or the teachings of Aleister Crowley. All of these things are very similar in nature. There's a little bit different way that they function. I find in the Egyptian mysteries and Egyptian Heka, they really get into the core and the understanding of what the Agathodaemon is. It's the merging of the spirit and the soul within the body, that understanding. Because the understanding of your spirit and your soul is what activates or awakens the Agathodaemon within. As I've said, one of the key components we must awake that true and higher self within. So the Egyptian Heka, or the Egyptian mysteries of Heka, is centered around awakening that higher self, or that Agathodaemon. Now, all you're hearing is a term that comes from Hermeticism mixed in with some of the Greek terminology, the Agathodaemon, the genius self, the higher self, the real you. It's the same thing. And people don't understand, that may not be familiar with working with Egyptian Heka in relationship to the occult and the left-hand path. That's the connection. It's high forms of Luciferian spirituality. Okay? It breaks down in their understanding, the Ka, the Ba, the Ren, the Eb, all of these spiritual terminologies that are strongly connected to your Agathodaemon and your higher self. There's a lot of work in there with the concepts of Apep or Apophis and Set, right? Because Set and Apophis represent that the ability to harmonize every aspect of yourself, to master every aspect of yourself. Apep or Apophis represents that chaos, right? And we're all chaos beings. We have all been birthed out of that primordial chaotic energy. All of us. Because when we were in the womb of our biological mother, we were submerged in the primordial chaotic energy, or the primordial chaotic waters. As I've said before, the story of Nun and Nunet, when you read that in the Egyptian mysteries, or it refers to the chaotic waters of Nun, that represents, again, when the man ejaculates in the female and the the sperm cells are all racing for the ovum to get into the womb of the woman so she can produce. Not all of them make it there. So it's a chaotic race into the womb of the divine feminine. And some of them sperm cells get into the ovum and they produce life. All this takes place in the womb of the divine female. Okay? So that's what those stories represent. And we're all birthed in those chaotic waters, male and female. So by nature, we are chaotic beings. You lived in those chaotic waters for 9 months. You lived in a sack of water for 9 months before you were birthed into this physical universe. So that says a lot. Okay? So when we have that understanding that by nature we are chaos beings, they suppress that from us because they indoctrinate us from an early age with all forms of religion, spiritual dogmas, programming, whether that's society, educational, through the media. You get the point. This is the reason for all that aforementioned. Okay? So the Egyptian Hecan mysteries and the understanding in those mysteries of the Agathodaemon is through the concept of ancient Egypt of awakening the personal daemon within. Because that's the origin of where that concept comes from. Because remember, the personal daemon represents the higher, as I use the term, the higher or the genius self, the most intelligent self. You also see that in Hermeticism, if you study Hermetic alchemy, which has its connection to ancient Egypt. Okay? So all of this ties in, and all of this pieces together these puzzles of working with, quote unquote, Egyptian Heka and your Agathodaemon. Okay? Because some people email me a lot. I've gotten that email a bunch of times over the years. Because they hear that term, Agathodaemon. What is that? Is it the same thing as the personal daemon? Is it this, that, or the other? So hopefully that's what I'm doing here, is clarifying that, right? In this short tutorial, to say yes, that is connected. Yes, that is true. Yes, there is an alignment and a connection with that, right? And that's the whole thing of understanding, working with set energy, understanding the set apophis aspect or apep, understanding the Heru set war, the Usir, Osiris wars. Okay? Understanding all of these things is critical and important, because we have to be able to understand these things, right, in order to apply them, right? Very important. Very, very important, all right? So I want to make sure that we're clear on that. Is it the same? Is it similar? Is it different? Is it something entirely different? Who knows? Right? I say who knows in the sense that, yes, it is different because the systems are different, right? That's the only thing that differentiates between them. That's it. Okay? But the concept and the eventual goal and outcome, okay, I want to make that clear, is pretty much the same. There's no difference in that, okay? No difference in the sense the goal is to awaken the true and higher self The goal is to remove the illusionary self, the veil that's over the illusionary self. Okay? That goal never changes. Okay? So whether you're working Egyptian Heka, whether you're working Luciferian spirituality, you'll find a lot of our systems, our philosophies, the spiritual paths that we work with, they're all in alignment with that concept. That never changes, okay? Never does. So I want to be clear on that. I want everybody to understand what makes this path, as I've said many times before, so diverse. You have many different options and choices to get to where you need to go, right? To get to the eventual goal, right? Which is freeing yourself from the bondage of ignorance, faith, belief, stupidity, all of those things that have been forced upon us through these religious systems. And it's not just religious systems, it's also all systems of indoctrination, cultural programming, educational programming, right? That plays a role. Okay, so it's all of those things, right? And Egyptian Heka and working with your Agathodaemon is another system that one can utilize. As I said before, look, because this path is so vast and you deal with so many different things on this path, I want to make this clear. The beauty of it is a lot of things, as I said, you're going to resonate with. Some things you're not going to have any type of connection with. You're not going to maybe feel a connection to it. And that's one great thing that we have, because when our spirit is communicating to us, when the deep down aspects of our soul, which activates the Agathodaemon, is communicating to us, right? We know when we have a strong connection to something, because it's embedded in the deep aspects of the core of our being or our soul, right? So, like for an example, some people might be connected to working with, say, Norse mythology and spirituality. Some people have strong connection to the Sith path, or vampiric magic, or Luciferian practice, this, that, and the other. And that's the beauty of this, right? I always encourage people to experience and explore all avenues to keep those, those doors open, right? Because the only way you truly understand is when you indulge and experience. Because by indulging and experience is the only way you will know if something is for you or not. Sometimes reading about it isn't good enough, okay? Reading about it doesn't give you the full spectrum or understanding of things, unfortunately. You have to experience certain things in order to understand them, right? So you make that choice, but that's what the Egyptian Heka mysteries are centered around. That the Agathodaemon is connected to working with your personal daemon. It pretty much, in essence, is the same thing because of the eventual goal. That's why I'm saying that. But you're working with different deities, different systems, different ritual practices, right? Look, long story short, and I'm going to leave you guys with this. There's always something to learn on this path. It's, like I said, man, it's always something. And that's the beauty of it. That's what keeps you sharp. That's what keeps you on the go. You never get complacent. You never get up and go, I know everything. Doesn't exist. You're constantly learning and growing on this path and mastering yourself. Veils are constantly being lifted from your subconscious. You're awakening on so many levels that you're aware of and not aware of, right? So that's it, man. It's the journey. Sometimes, the journey is it's vast, right? It's not something simple, and it's not supposed to be simple. Okay? It's work. Put in that work, and I guarantee you get the results. All right. Other than that, I'm going to wrap this video up. You guys know where to reach me. All right. If you're interested, again, in a spiritual reading, a consultation, any of the aforementioned, all the links to, the direct link to the podcast, the Primordial Chaos podcast, the link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, okay? The link to the social media pages, my contact email address, all the information you need to contact me for classes, spiritual readings, all that's in the description box of the video you're watching now, all right? From the blessings, I'm out of here. We'll talk soon.